You're watching France 24 and it's time now for our daily leaf through the world's papers. Ginty Jackson joins me in the studio. Good morning, Ginty. Let's start with mixed messages from Washington in Iran.
Well, mixed messages indeed, Catherine. And we do hear such a lot about Washington intending to impose further sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program, which makes this article all the more surprising. Washington extends a hand to the Iranians is the title of an article in Le Figaro, the French paper, this morning. Now, the photograph that you'll see in the article dates back to 1979, when diplomatic ties were actually cut during the infamous hostage-taking at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, as you know. Now, Washington conducts its business at the moment in Tehran through the Swiss Embassy, but there's a spat that's developing between the two countries over an Iraqi gas contract. Washington thinks perhaps now is a good time to open what it calls a diplomatic outpost, or more of a kind of center of interest. So we're not really talking about a real embassy, but it's rather like the one they already have in Havana. Now, Le Figaro reckons this is the excuse Washington may have been waiting for to reach out to the youth and dissidents in Iran. So far, the Iranians aren't saying no, even though America's better known there as the Great Satan. So we'll obviously see what comes of that one.
Ginty, moving on, Al-Qaeda is getting increasingly technically savvy. Tell us more.
Well, online chats with Al-Qaeda's number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri, sophisticated videos, iPod clips, just the beginning of what Al-Qaeda seems capable of these days, according to this article in the Washington Post. Now, US officials are getting increasingly embarrassed by what seems to be the terrorist group's ability to communicate through its own production house, apparently located in tribal Pakistan. Now, they also have sophisticated online networks. The article goes into some depth on how Al-Qaeda actually manages to outfox attempts to shut them down over the internet. They've actually increased that online output sixfold since 2005, so it's quite incredible.
Ginty, let's stick with the US press now, and from cutting-edge technology and iPod broadcasts from Al-Qaeda to a dying tradition.
A fascinating feature on the sworn virgins of Albania, that's in the New York Times today. A traditional practice allowing women to live as men, especially in families where there was perhaps no heir or the menfolk have died. These women promise to remain virgins all their lives, not to marry, have children, etc. 78-year-old Pasha Kirki is one of about only 40 left in the country. Now, she cut her hair and donned men's clothes at the age of 20 after her father was apparently murdered. She's known in her family as uncle and apparently very respected as such. But now apparently the age of MTV and internet dating is killing the practice. And as I said, there are only 40 of them left, one of the last.
Goodness me, how fascinating. Well, plenty of ruffled feathers in Wimbledon this year. It isn't about the size of the hats or the price of the strawberries. What's going on?
Well, yes, animal rights activists actually are in a flap. That's after the UK's independent newspaper reported that pigeons were being shot at the All England club which hosts the tournament. For years, hawks were used to scare away the pigeons. They were sent up and the pigeons were apparently supposed to scatter. But this year, players are complaining that they're actually being dive-bombed by the pigeons, which is a difficult one to imagine. But anyway, the marksmen were sent out and apparently several birds killed. And some say that that's the price you have to pay to eat your strawberry and cream in peace. But those animal rights activists say they intend actually suing the club for cruelty.
Goodness me, yes, and don't mess with those British animal activists. They're a pretty tough bunch. Thank you very much indeed, Ginty Jackson, for that review of the world's papers. Stay tuned to France 24. Thanks.